Hi there, it's Lewis from Datarade, and welcome to Data Explained. Imagine how much more intelligently you could run your business if you understood the full characteristics of every organization that you were interacting with. Well, our topic for today, Firmographic data, can provide you with all of this information. So what exactly is Firmographic data? Well, it's basically any characteristics that can describe a company. Looking at the data attributes, you can see it's exactly this. Now, these different characteristics can be broken down into a macro scale and a micro scale. On the macro scale, this is what basically helps you to divide similar companies and categorize them. This could be by industry, it could be by size, there's a whole long list. On the micro scale, this is where you differentiate the companies that you've already categorized by the behaviors that they take. So the revenue that they get, or how long it takes for them to complete a sales cycle, as well as other ones. Now, a lot of this data is publicly available, but especially for private companies in emerging markets, or even just sometimes about when it comes to really specific information about publicly available companies, it's not available, and this is often the information that you would really need. And for this reason, many companies turn to data providers to source firmographic data for them. So how do these firmographic data providers acquire their data? Well, it basically results in three different data types. Firstly, they could scan through things like company websites, company registers, and their tax declarations. And once these are scraped, they get what is called self-reported data. Now, this is data on information that's been provided willingly and freely by the companies available. Now, this is great when that information is out there, but if it's not, data providers often tend to scrape other things like social media posts, job postings, or even various reports about companies to get a little bit more context or perhaps find information that isn't available. This provides derived data. And then finally, sometimes, especially in the case, as I mentioned, with private companies and in emerging markets, the data is really not widely available. And even the largest data providers therefore sometimes turn to smaller data providers that will have access to perhaps private databases, government databases, or even just do a lot more of the manual verification by phone. And when you've got this verified data, you can know that the characteristics that you've acquired will be true, and you can be certain that they're up to date as well. Now, on the topic of knowing, Firmographic's data is exactly that. It helps you know exactly who you're interacting with and therefore how you're going to be able to interact with them. And this breaks down into about three things. Firstly, your customers. So when you're interacting with your customers, this could be helpful for segmenting your audience, your B2B audiences when doing marketing, so knowing who to reach out for properly depending on the industry that they're in or the size of the company. And then when it comes to sales planning, once they're actually in your funnel, you can also approach properly, forecast, and set appropriate targets according to the type of company that you're interacting with. Your suppliers. Now, on the other side of the coin, you need to make sure that you understand who you're interacting with and who you're sourcing things from. And the primary use case for this is risk management. This could be with new potential suppliers. You could use Firmographic's data to identify potential suppliers and then evaluate them in terms of risk, or even going through your existing list of suppliers to check that they're still workable. And then finally, you can also use Firmographic data to enrich existing data sets. Let's say you have a list of companies who are showing intent. You've got some intent data, and you've even got a list of contacts at that company who you would be able to reach out to. Well, you're now lacking information about the actual company you're going to reach out to. That's what Firmographic data can help you provide. And the way it does this is by having a match key. Now, when it comes to match keys, there are various different types. And so when you're assuring the quality of any Firmographic data you're getting, you need to make sure that the data you're acquiring has a match key that will fit with the data that you're buying. In this way, you can properly align the different data sets that you have. So for example, you can align your intent data with the contact data and the company. You also need to check that the scale of any data you're buying is sufficient for you. As I mentioned, when it comes to private companies or in emerging markets, it can be tricky to find enough information about the companies there. Be sure that any data you're providing is of the correct size. You can always ask for a sample set from your data provider to help you assure this. And then finally, how up to date is the data? There's no point in knowing about the scale of a company last year, as this might have changed. Any Firmographic data you buy, make sure it's up to date. Anyway, that's been our quick overview video on Firmographic data. Be sure to leave your thoughts and comments down in the comments section below and tell us what you'd like to see in next week's video and your thoughts on Firmographic data. I've been Lewis from Datarade, and I'll see you next time.